Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first week of the Spring 2022 Bright Futures Career Speaker Series. The Bright Futures Career Speaker Series is an educational webinar series sponsored by the Napa County Office of Education, the Marin County Office of Education, Napa Valley College, College of Marin, and the Workforce Alliance of the North Bay. Today's presentation topics will cover careers in medicine and healthcare. As people are logging on today, I'd like to do a quick round of introductions. My name is Sita Williams, and I work for the Workforce Alliance of the North Bay. The moderators for this spring speaker series will be Angela Higdon with Napa County Office of Education and Alex Jones with the College of Marin. Presenting today, we have Pablo Hilario with the Queen of the Valley Hospital, Dr. Draves with the Permanente Medical Group, Fatima Yanes, who is a regional manager in the dentistry industry, and Jen Selby with the Queen of the Valley Medical Center. Before we get started with today's speakers, I'm going to do some quick housekeeping so that we're all on the same page throughout the webinar. We will be recording this webinar. So why offer a speaker series? Well, we'd like to introduce you to some of your local professional experts, introduce you to jobs that you may not have known about before, and we'd like to help you to make informed decisions about the next steps on your career path, whether you're a student or a job seeker. So what to expect today? The presentation hour will include an introduction, like we're doing right now, speaker panel discussion time, and question and answer time. Please use the chat function of the webinar to ask your questions. We will repeat the questions out loud to the speakers. And with that, I will hand the mic over to you, Angela.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much to our panelists today. I would love it if we could start with just some simple introductions. So if I could, I'll call on each of our panelists, and if you could share who you are, your organization, and what your role in the organization is. And with that, can we start with Jen Selby?
Sure. So my name is Jen Selby, and I am a registered nurse. I am a nurse educator at Queen of the Valley Medical Center. I primarily support the emergency department. I've been a nurse for 22 years now, and I recently graduated from grad school and am now going to be transitioning into a nurse practitioner role.
Great. Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Pablo, how about if we have you go next?
All right, my name is Pablo, and I am a tech assistant here in the laboratory, Queen of the Valley main laboratory. And right now I'm also an intern as a clinical chemist in the laboratory. And this is a shift in a career for me. I was a teacher before, a professor, actually a college professor in chemistry. And my chemistry background allowed me to transition into working in healthcare in the laboratory. And I find it fascinating.
Wow, thank you.
All right.
Dr. Draves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maisha Draves. I'm a medical director of pharmacy in Kaiser Permanente. I'm also a physician in primary care. I see patients in the outpatient clinics.
Great, thank you. And finally, Fatima Yanis.
Hi, I'm Fatima Yanes. I'm a regional manager at My Children's Choice out here in California, and we have offices in New Mexico and Arizona, newly acquired offices. I've been a regional manager for about 26 years, and basically in the dental field for the last 30 years.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, so Dr. Draves, I'll start with you, and then we'll make our way around the panel. When did you decide you wanted to work in healthcare?
Oh, thank you. I was quite young. Family members who had health problems and spent a lot of time in clinics and hospitals, and became just comfortable in the healthcare field in general. helping to care for loved ones, and found that it was something that I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And at first I wanted to cure every disease that a different family member had. Then I realized that really what I wanted to do was be a family physician and help people walk through their journey of illnesses we know that exist, and be there for the patient, but also be there for their family.
Okay, thank you. Pablo, what about you? So this is a second career. When did you decide you wanted to work in healthcare?
Well, since my background is chemistry, I thought that I could work in industry or teach chemistry at a high school or college level. I've never thought about going to the medical field, as a chemist, until I met a friend who actually told me about my options as a chemist. And not until I realized that I could be trained at a hospital like Queen of the Valley as a chemist. And when this opportunity opened, actually, was 2021, when the Queen of the Valley got approved to train students with baccalaureate degree in biology or chemistry. And in particular, in this case, it's the chemistry program. So I get a chance to be one of the first, in fact, there's two of us, one of the two first students to be trained as a clinical chemist. And hopefully by next month or so, we finish the program and we get licensed by the state to work as clinical chemist here in the lab.
That's great. Fatima, what about you?
Sorry, I'm talking to myself here. I was on mute. I joined the dental field when I was very young. I was in my early 20s by a mutual friend. And I started actually as a dental assistant, a sterilizer. I used to clean instruments. So I figured, I need a job. This is what's going to pay the bills right now. And never did I know that I was going to end up making it my career. I ended up moving to become a dental assistant for orthodontics for braces, got my x-ray license, and learned how to take off braces, put them on, and all that good stuff. My goal was to be a receptionist. I was like, yes, I need to be in the front desk receptionist, and I did so. And then eventually I was like, okay, no, this is not for me. I became an insurance biller, Medi-Cal biller, treatment coordinator, and then eventually worked myself up to a business manager. So I managed dental practices for about 5 years, and then I got promoted to become a regional manager, and I've been doing regional managing work for the last 25. So I ended up being a great career. I help patients, we coach, we mentor, we get patients healthy via their oral hygiene, and so I think it turned out to be a very rewarding career for me. And half my family are in the dental field.
That's great. Thank you. And Jen, what about you? When did you decide that you wanted to work in healthcare?
That's a great question. I started as a lifeguard when I was 15 years old, and I really enjoyed the first aid portion of the job more so than the rescue portion. And so then when I was 16, I went through the CNA program at Napa High that they had at the time. And I started working at one of the local nursing homes. And then I truly did like a stepping stone approach to my career, because from the CNA, then I went to Napa Valley College and I got my associate's degree in nursing, became a registered nurse. And I used that 2-year degree for 17 years. And I didn't go back to school for 17 years until I finally went back and got my bachelor's degree. And then, like I said, just this past December, I finished up my graduate degree. So I don't remember ever making the conscious decision that I was going to be a nurse. I always knew that I was meant to help. And this has truly been the right career for me that I've been able to take a stair-step approach and get to where I am now without doing it all at once. So it's been beneficial for me.
Okay, thank you. So Pablo, what are the key personality traits or skills required for somebody that wants to be successful in your line of work?
First of all, I think you need to have an open mind. For me, I always believe in learning, that no matter what stage of life you're in, you can always learn new things. And going into this program, I am excited to learn new things and, embrace it with an open mind. And the other thing that I would say that you need to be friendly with people, because you're going to learn from these people that you're going to be working with. And you've learned from senior people, from people who come from different backgrounds. And I've learned a lot from my coworkers, not just, in the chemistry program, but other people here in the lab as well. So be open-minded about learning new things and be friendly with people, and you'll go far in life.
Great, thank you. Jen, same question. What are the key personality traits or skills that you think you need to be successful?
Well, like Pablo said, you definitely have to be a lifelong learner. If you never want to learn anything ever again, do not go into healthcare, because it is constantly evolving, and new science and evidence is coming out every day. So you always have to be studying. You also have to be flexible. You have to somewhat be a people person, because obviously you're working with people. I was, when I started in healthcare, I was very shy. And so that's something that I had to work on to be able to learn to interact with people. And fortunately, healthcare and being an ER nurse for 20 years has broken the shyness out of me. But I would say being someone who's interested in learning, and someone who's a people person, and then also a team player, because this is truly a team sport. We're not doing things one-on-one, but we're acting as a team.
Okay. Dr. Draves, what about you?
I think what Jen and Pablo say are definitely true, and would echo those. So the other things to add is you really have to be a good listener. Sometimes you're listening to the words, sometimes you're listening to the body language, sometimes you're listening to the facial expressions. The field of medicine, the healthcare field, whether you're in a clinic or a hospital, medical assistant, nurse, pharmacist, doctor, you're really there to serve the patients, and listening to them is a really big part of it. They say a doctor cuts off a patient in average about 6 seconds. And so the patient time to sit and listen probably gives you more information than any test you're going to run, or any next step. And it's often the thing that we either overlook, or the thing that will really help steer the ship in the right direction. And really a lot of empathy. Patients come to us when they're vulnerable. They don't, and that is a scary time. It's also a frustrating time. And you have to be comfortable with a lot of emotions. Patients can come scared, and that or worried, and that can come as shy, it can come as angry, it can come as being very standoffish, and just sitting and waiting and listening and being there, I think, to add to what everyone else has said.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, Fatima, I'm pronouncing that correctly, right?
Yes, Fatima. Either
Okay.
way.
Okay.
No worries. I can actually agree with Maisha. I think being in the healthcare, the biggest issue for us is, especially in my field right now, working with little kids. We specialize in small children. putting them under GA. So that can be very scary. I think one of the biggest things is actually listening to the patient's concerns. One, the children are scared to come in. Two, the parents, right? You're bringing in your child. You're trusting that the dentist is going to provide the best quality service. So listening for us is huge. We try to, coach our team to be patient, right? You have to be patient with our patients. So I think that's really important and crucial, and be a multitasker because you're managing several things. You're doing appointments, you're answering phones, you're taking care of payments. So definitely being fast learner, multitasker. But I think at the end of the day, is if we don't listen to our patients, then we're not going to be able to provide good quality service for them.
Okay, thank you. And so we're going to stay with you and ask the next question. Why do you do what you do? What motivates you to go to work every day?
Personally for me, I'm a people person. I love working with people. I enjoy coaching and mentoring. I manage a team of 10 dental offices. So I work really well, coaching and grooming, especially new managers, business manager, teaching them how to manage a business, how to control profit and loss reports, how to create a positive team, right? By hiring the right people, interviewing the right people, asking the right questions during interviews. Because I think we seem to forget we want to fill a spot, but at the end of the day, it takes a lot more than that. So I think for me, what takes me to work every day, and I'm happy, is that at the end of the day, I feel I'm gonna help somebody, whether it was my teammate, whether it was a patient that I was able to take care of because I had a bad experience. I think if I touch one person by doing something right and coaching and mentoring them, then I feel I've done my job.
Great, thank you. Dr. Draves, what about you?
Is it okay to repeat the question again?
Absolutely. Why do you do what you do? What motivates you to go to work every day?
Yeah, it's been a lifelong passion to help patients. I think that during this time of COVID, especially, people have had more vulnerabilities. There's been more uncertainty. Individuals who had been stable for years, either in their life, their career, or their health, all face challenges. Physically, emotionally, in their families, in their circles of friends. And I think it called upon kind of the reasons for going into medicine, of really wanting to help a patient through their vulnerabilities, but also to help their family and their caregivers and their loved ones through that whole process. And although things have been pretty hard lately, I think it's really called upon that mission again. To be there. I feel fortunate that I wake up every day and I'm okay, and that I have a family to rely upon, and to be able to provide that to someone in a time of need means a lot. We all need that at some point. I've certainly had it in my life and been thankful for it, and it feels good to be able to pay it forward.
Wonderful, thank you. Jen, same question. Why do you do what you do? What motivates you to go to work every day?
Well, I truly can't imagine doing anything else with my life. I love being a nurse that much. But I think that in my role as a nurse educator, I have sort of the special circumstance of both being able to teach and mentor the newer nurses. And a lot of what I do is mentoring one-on-one on the floor with the patients. And it's so rewarding to be mentoring a nurse, maybe with a critical patient who's critically ill, and then help them to understand the physiology that's going on behind that illness and see that light bulb go on over their head. That's really a rewarding thing. And then also I still get to take part in patient care. And so I still get that really great satisfaction of being part of a team that maybe saves a life or turns somebody around. And so that's what gets me up in the morning and gets me to work, is those the satisfaction that I get out of both of those roles.
Great, thank you. And Pablo, what about you? What keeps you going to work every day?
Yes, that's a great question. Although we don't see patients directly because we're in the lab, and doctors, nurses, they send samples to us. We analyze those samples and we send back the results. There was a point in the past where actually I had to help with the COVID testing, and I had to see patients directly, be involved with the testing part, and just being able to help the patients so that they could get their surgery done, they could get the procedure done, was for me satisfying. I realized that we don't see patients directly, but we know we're part of the team that will we help the doctors make the right decisions for their patients. And so as a team, and part of healthcare, I truly appreciate that we can make a difference in our own little niche here. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Jen, you touched on this a little bit when you talked about your own background, but can you share with us what level of education is typically required for your career?
So the base level to be a registered nurse is a 2-year associate degree. And when I say 2 years, it actually takes a little bit longer than 2 years. The nursing program itself is a 2-year program, but there's about 1.5 years of prerequisites required before you can get into that 2-year program. So that's the base level. You can also go straight for a bachelor's degree, which is a 4-year degree. That's becoming more and more popular. And that would be the next level. You can also start at the base level of an associate's degree and then do what I did and just go 2 more years and get your bachelor's degree.
Okay, thank you. Fatima, what about you?
For what I do, it normally requires a business degree, whether it's an associate or a BA. But one of the great things about what I do in my field, especially working for corporations, is that they promote from within. And I think that I got very blessed and lucky that I got to the position that I'm with without any college degree. So as long as I had been a business manager, practice manager for over 5 years, and then got transferred and managed different locations, I got very lucky that I was able to reach the position that I do. But normally it does require some type of business management degree or administration.
Okay, Dr. Draves.
So to become a physician, it requires a 4-year college and then 4 years of medical school, and then a residency training where you're doing sort of on-the-job training under another physician or group. And that can be, depending on their field, anywhere from 3 years as the shortest, all the way to 9 or 10 years if you want to become sort of like a neurosurgeon. So myself, as a family medicine physician practicing in the clinics, I was able to do 3 years of residency after medical school. A typical surgeon may do 5, 6, or 7. If you want to go on to a subspecialty or something more, you may do more. That training can include residency, fellowship, and it can include research as well. Many of your very specialized physicians have done years of research on top of their clinical residency program.
All right, and finally, Pablo.
All right, so in my case, the field typically requires a bachelor's degree. And once you have a bachelor's degree, then you can enroll into an accredited clinical lab science program, usually through a university or through, in my case, through the hospital. There's a few of them in the Bay Area. There's the San Francisco State, I think San Jose State. And if you go to the website for the state of California, you'll see a list of all the accredited training program. And once you finish that, then typically you have to take an exam that will allow you to apply for a license through the state of California. and then you can work as a CLS anywhere else.
Okay, thank you.
So
I
Ange-
noticed I noticed we had something pop up in the chat, and it looks like this is probably for you, Jen. It says, how long does it take to actually become a nurse with school and everything?
So you can do the prerequisites half-time, going to school half-time in about 2 years. And then the actual nursing program is full-time, and that's 2 years. And so it seems a little unfair. You come away with a 2-year degree after about 4 years of school, unfortunately.
Okay. All right, this looks like a question for all of the panelists. So we're gonna go off script a little bit here. What are some things that you did in high school, clubs, extracurricular activities, etc., that you think helped you be the best person you can be for your job? And I'm gonna let whoever wants to chime in on that one first, go for it.
In my case, sorry.
Go ahead.
Pablo, go ahead.
Be good in science and math. And if you love science, then maybe a CLS is a career for you. And if you love math and chemistry, you can specialize as a chemist, as a clinical chemist.
Okay, thank you, Jen.
Yeah, and I mentioned that I got into lifeguarding, and I was on the water polo team. Things like that help you learn how to be a people person, how to work within a team environment. And then I took the CNA program while I was in high school, so all of that helped to prepare me for the career.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else want to chime in on that one? Okay. So Dr. Draves, I think this one might be for you next. How long and what are the requirements of going into trauma surgery?
Good question. So it's 4 years of college and 4 years of medical school. Anywhere from 5 to 6 years of a general surgery program, and then a 2-year fellowship in trauma surgery itself. And just looked it up. Typical trauma surgeon on average starts off, makes anywhere between about 350,000 to about 525,000, in case you wanted to know sort of all of that. And typically they may do a few months of research, but unlike neurosurgeons who may do 2 or 3 years of research, theirs is more in months.
Okay, great. So I have another question that goes out probably to a couple of you on the panel. Any tips to becoming a pharmacist? Does anybody have some tips on becoming a pharmacist?
We can sort of start that one. There are pharmacy schools. So, applying to a pharmacy school directly. There's a lot of science and math involved in pharmacy school. There's a lot of chemistry, as Pablo probably knows, within pharmacy school. Give me anywhere from 4 to 6 years to sort of become a pharmacist. And then there are many different parts of pharmacy. So without pharmacy school, you can become a pharm tech. And so you're more assisting a pharmacist. You can become a full-fledged pharmacist where you're actually working with the medications, the pills, the filling prescriptions. That's often called an outpatient pharmacist. There are inpatient pharmacists that really work on mixing a lot of the IV medications a patient may receive in the hospital. There are oncology pharmacists who work a lot with the chemo medications that our patients with cancer may require. And then there's something called a clinical pharmacist. And a clinical pharmacist goes beyond pharmacy school and some of the training or job experience I just talked about. And they also do a residency similar to physicians. And then under a physician in California, they can actually practice medicine. So we have pharmacists who work under a protocol under a physician. They can treat tuberculosis, they can treat STDs, diabetes. And so there can be sort of a physician extender in the state of California now.
Wow. So Jessica typed in the chat, what college do you recommend when trying to become a nurse?
So I would say whichever college you can get into, because right now it is very competitive. I have a niece who has been trying to get into nursing school for a couple of years now. You know, it depends if who wants to go away to college or if you're trying to stay local. We have so many nursing schools just here in the Bay Area. So look at, you know, go online, look at the community colleges that we have in California, look at the ones that have nursing program, and then see which ones are close by. And I think I stand by my statement that go to whichever one you can get into the soonest, because there's such a need right now and there's so many people trying to get in.
All right, thanks, Jen. So Danya typed in the chat, for all of the careers, how do you or did you put yourself out there to go for your dream job? How did you put yourself out there to go for your dream job? Pablo, you want to try that one?
All right. So for me, I since high school, I love chemistry. And so that's what my major was when I was in college, you know. So chemistry, and then I wanted to go to grad school, and actually I have a master's and a PhD in chemistry because I love chemistry that much. And then I didn't realize that I could be a clinical chemist. That's why I'm transitioning. Actually, I thought about teaching clinical chemistry, but I didn't have the background. And so being trained here at the hospital as a clinical chemist allows me to be a full-fledged clinical chemist. So if you love something, you just go for it, you know? There will be opportunities that will come your way.
Great.
And I would also add in, if you're interested in a job in healthcare, specifically in the hospital, volunteer, be a volunteer in the hospital. We have had volunteers in the emergency department who have gone on to be nurses that we've then hired into the emergency department. We've had volunteers that have gone on to medical school. And so it really helps you to sort of get a feel for if healthcare is right for you, if the environment is right for you, and it also looks great on your resume that you have that experience.
Great, thank you. Fatima, what about you? I know you explained early on at the beginning, you've kind of gone through a number of different positions. How did you finally just put yourself out there to go for what seems to be your dream job?
You know what? I think being hungry for what you want to do and really, you know, what, like I said, I started as a sterilizer. I used to clean instruments, but my goal at the time, I mean, I was very young. I wanted to be a receptionist. And I told my manager, hey, I want to be in the front desk. I want to be a receptionist. When there's an opening coming, I want to do that. And then I became a receptionist. And then I realized, oh my God, I don't want to do this. But then I'm like, I want to become a biller. Now I want to do what she does. I want to, you know, and then became a treatment planner, treatment coordinator. So I think just put yourself out there. If you don't ask, you don't get. You know, a lot of the times, one of the things that I tell my employees is when I promote from within, and that's, you know, I'm very keen on that for the same reason that's how I got to the job that I'm in. I like to promote from within, right? But not everybody can be a business manager. You have to have a certain personality. You have to be able to communicate with team members. So I think the fact that if you want something, ask for it. The worst thing you're going to get is told, yeah, no, you're not ready yet. But then you can say, okay, teach me, coach me, mentor me. I want to get to wherever you want to get. And that's how I speak to my business managers. I teach them everything I know. because like I told them, I want to retire someday. So I need to find the person who's going to replace me. So I think go for it, ask, don't take no for an answer. And that's how I worked my way up, and it worked for me. And honestly, I'm very happy where I'm at. Like I said, I really enjoy what I do, working with people day in, day out, helping them. I think is really important, but I honestly had no idea I was going to make it my career, and the best thing that could have happened to me. So don't stop. Don't say, don't be afraid to ask for what you want, because some door will open.
Great, thank you. Dr. Draves, do you want to add anything to that?
I think Fatima did a great job explaining it. I think what I'd add is many of us probably didn't start off with our dream job. We started off with an entry-level job within the world that, we had just finished training or began. It takes time to get into your dream job sometimes. You need experience, and it may be 2 or 3 steps away, and that's okay. You keep working for it. Be okay letting people know what you're interested in. And then when you're at each level or each new job, you do have to try your hardest. I think you have to put your full effort in. You often have to ask, what more can I do that's above and beyond your current role and job? That's part of where Fatima says, in being hungry and going after it. Sometimes that's what they'll see and recognize, and then ask you, to consider a new job or a new promotion. And that's often the way many of us probably on this panel started off in one place, maybe not our dream job, and then slowly made our way up.
Okay, so if we can stay with you, Dr. Draves, we have a question in the chat, and it is, do grades really matter when trying to work at the hospital?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think when it's your first job and you don't have any experience, and they're looking at your resume, and your resume is your school, they may not ask for your transcript, but they're definitely going to ask for your referrals. And probably your references are your professors or your teachers. It may not be whether you got an A or a B, but it's definitely what effort you put forth, what participation you had, how much energy you brought to the classroom or to your clinicals. That sometimes matters a lot more once you're in the actual job. The grades matter to get into from high school to the college or to the vocational training. But before experience, and when you get into that first job, your references really matter. So your teachers are probably going to speak a lot about your energy, your participation, your inquisitiveness, your helpfulness, your teamwork on projects, more than if they're going to say this person got an A+, this one got an A-, this one got a B+.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody want to add to that?
I would just say that, if the goal is to go into nursing or some sort of similar field, then grades do matter in order to get into school. I know of several friends, daughters of friends who are having difficulty getting into nursing school because of their grades. And so that's something to think about. Once you get into the hospital, once you get your nursing degree, nobody asks what your grades were in nursing school, but to get into nursing school, it does make a difference.
Okay. All right, Jen, I think this question probably goes to you as well. When becoming a nurse, do I have to be really good at chemistry in high school?
Well, I was not. When I went to nursing school, I at the time was my high school chemistry grandfathered me in, and I didn't have to take it in college, thankfully, because I was not good at it. But I did take classes like AP Bio and other AP classes that I was good at. And so you do need to take chemistry classes. You do need to pass chemistry classes, organic chem, things like that. So do you have to be good at it? No. Do you have to pass it? Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, so actually on that AP track, I have a question here. And I'm gonna phrase it in two parts. One is, are AP classes really worth taking to help pursue someone's career path? Dr. Draves, are you wanting to take that one?
Sure. You know, I'd say AP classes in high school, if you're ready to take college level classes at high school, wonderful, go for it. And, you know, colleges do look at that. And so for pharmacy schools, they will look at the AP classes that you took. It certainly doesn't hurt, but it doesn't mean that you have to do it if you're not ready for it. It doesn't mean, you know, that an AP versus the getting a good grade matter. So you really want to take the chemistry class that is really at the level that you're ready for, knowing that, again, you're going to take it in college as well. So rather you have a good foundation in chemistry or honors chemistry, and really understand the material. It would be very hard to take an AP chemistry class, but not have been able to understand all of it. And then when you get into college, really struggle because the foundations weren't there yet. So if you're ready for AP classes, absolutely, the schools do look at them. They look at the grade, it gives you the grade bump. You can take the AP exam at the end. You may or may not pass enough to skip it in college, but it does give you a really good sense of where you are at the end of the year, and that much more foundation when you do retake the class again in college.
Great, thank you. Does anybody else want to add? Pablo, I saw you nodding your head quite a bit. Do you want to have something to add to that?
I totally agree with Dr. Draves on that one. If you're ready for an AP class, by all means, go for it. But if you're not, you know, take the class that you can handle. But make sure that the key to be successful in anything is understanding. So if a class that's your level of understanding is the right one for you, then be happy with it. But you know, you're gonna take it again in college, and you're gonna exert more effort. And again, the key is to try to understand. You know, because a lot of the classes, sometimes students are just for the grades. They just want to get the grade, but not understand. You need to try to understand, because that's going to help you in the long run.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Draves, I have another question coming back to you, and that is, what are some of the steps you took to become a family physician? I'm assuming they're asking beyond, obviously, medical school.
Yes, after the college, medical school, and residency is where you decide the type of medicine you want to go into. So after medical school, we do what's called a match program. You select the type of medicine you want to go into, and then you do an application process all over again, very similar to applying to college or medical school. And now you're applying into a field to train to become the type of doctor you want to be. So if I wanted to be a radiologist, I would actually apply to the radiology residency programs. If I wanted to be a surgeon, I have to apply into those programs. And the same with family medicine. It's rare, it's not unheard of, but I'd say 90–95% of the time, once you select the type of physician you want to be and apply to that type of residency program, most doctors don't switch at that point. Most doctors continue on that path. I did have someone who started in family medicine, did year 1 with us in our program, and really decided she wanted to be an ophthalmologist. And she did decide to reapply and start over again in a new residency in ophthalmology. Rare, but it does happen.
Okay. So we have a question here. If you did AP biology and AP chemistry in high school, do you recommend doing it again in college? And so I'm assuming they mean they took it and passed the test. So would you recommend somebody who has taken AP classes and passed the test take it again? Anybody want to take that? Pablo, can you add some insight on that?
I think if you're going to need chemistry to, in order for you to take an entrance exam or an MCAT or something like that, a PCAT or something like that in the future, I think it would be wise to retake, so that will give you a better understanding of the material, and that will help you prepare you for the test in the future.
Okay.
That's my take.
Okay. So I'm going to jump ahead on our questions here a little bit, because I think there's one here that really is important for people to hear. And that is, what do you think is the best thing about working in healthcare? And what do you find the most challenging? And so with that, Jen, could you start us off with that?
I think the best thing, that what I find the most rewarding is those days when I feel like it truly made a difference in someone's life. And, whether it's from something that the care that I delivered, or the education that I provided to another nurse who then delivered the care. So I think that's the best. When I go home feeling like, yeah, that was a good day. The most challenging, and I'm sure that the others will agree with me, is in the current healthcare environment, is constantly being asked to do more with less resources. That's very difficult. And, resources are slim everywhere, and staffing, even, with the pandemic, staffing is short. And so we're just constantly having to create workarounds and like I said, try to do more with less. And so that's what I find the most challenging.
All right. Pablo, what about you?
And I completely agree with Jen in healthcare, because, it's rewarding to be able to make a difference in someone else's life, as a support for our caregivers, our doctors. And like I said, like she said, the challenges, if you have to extend hours, someone's sick, you have to cover a shift. And, and in spite of you being tired already, but you have to do it. And so that would be that, I guess, the challenging part.
Okay. Fatima?
I think the same. I think rewarding, right? Helping patients. I think at the end of the day, that's probably why we're happy doing what we do, just making sure our patients are healthy. Challenging, I think, like everything else, working with people is always going to be challenging, because you have, those agreements or disagreements and challenges. Not all the patients' parents are happy, right? They come stressed. So you have to be you have to listen, you have to be kind, you have to be patient. So that's the stressful part, right? Trying to help the parents understand why, we're doing what we're doing to our kiddos to, try to get them healthy. So, but at the end of the day, I think the minute you see a happy child, especially children that end up getting braces. I used to be an orthodontic dental assistant, seeing how their teeth started, day one, where we take pictures in the beginning, and then at year 20, at the 24 months, at the 2-year mark, we take pictures showing the aftermath of what braces did. It's amazing. Like, it's such a wonderful feeling where these patients are so happy how beautiful their teeth are, how they can smile now, right? Because 2 years ago, they were embarrassed to smile because they had their crooked teeth. So I think for me, that's probably why I love being a dental assistant in the orthodontic field. I just seeing the smiles on those patients is definitely a reward.
Great. Thank you. And Dr. Draves?
Yeah, I think the biggest reward is knowing that you could be there for someone during a vulnerable time. Sometimes you were able to help them solve a mystery. Sure, they're dizzy and why, and it takes a bit of a journey and hunt to figure that out. And being able to get to the bottom of it and then help them and fix it, I think is very rewarding. It's also just nice to be there to hold their hand. Sometimes you can't fix everything, but you can be there for them and really help them find their best way forward, even when you can't fix everything. I think that's important.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Draves, we have another question here that I'm assuming we will direct to you, and that is, how expensive is it to get into medical school?
Yeah, like colleges, medical school can be quite expensive. Like colleges, they do have financial aid. And so I think the biggest thing is to get in. If you get in, do anything and everything. Whether or not you have to do the financial aid, loans, grants, it may feel like a lot initially, but coming out on the other side, you really have launched yourself into a whole new world. And although it may seem like you're coming out with a significant debt, to have that higher graduate school education, come out with that MD, be able to get a job as a physician with benefits, those things, that's sort of that investing in yourself that over the 10, 20, 30-year career really does pay itself back tenfold. Like colleges, anywhere from 30 to 50,000, and then books and room and board. Most people, unless you have parents that can actually just write a check, are not paying that though. There really is financial assistance available. It doesn't mean you won't have scary student loans, but it does mean when you come out and you're a physician and you get that first job and those paychecks, it really will pay itself off over time.
Right, thank you. So I think we have time. Well, we may have time for two, but I'm going to for sure one more, and that is, how important is collaboration in your work? So Fatima, can we start with you on that one? How important is collaboration in what you do?
It's very important. It's very important. I think in any field, if I'm not mistaken, you have to be able to collaborate, work together as a team, be open-minded, be available to communicate and express your thought process. I think to be successful in any line of business, collaboration is a must, in my opinion.
Okay. Pablo, what about you?
I agree with Fatima on that one. Collaboration is really important to be successful in this field, and and just helping each other, because sometimes someone has to use the restroom or as an emergency, and you have to step in and take over and do the job. Just go there, step in, and help your coworker. And at the end of the day, in some other circumstances, you will get that help that you need when you're in that same situation. And so, think of others, and you think of yourself too, but you think of others as well. In that way, you can be productive and be happy with your job.
Okay, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, we're called a healthcare team for a reason, because we have to act as a team in order to work successfully. So, Dr. Draves writes the orders of what needs to be done, and then I'm the nurse and I carry those orders out. And maybe I send the blood to Pablo down in the lab and he runs the blood and he gets those results back to Dr. Draves, and that's how the team works. And if we don't collaborate, then the patient is the one who suffers. And so there has to be collaboration and teamwork in order for us to deliver the care that's needed to the patient.
Okay. Dr. Draves?
I'd say, to build on what Pablo and Jen said, the teamwork also comes in the relationship and the camaraderie. And so we all have to pass off the tasks, but we also have to lean on each other. And so sometimes the patient is more comfortable telling the receptionist something, who can come back and tell me, and they weren't going to feel comfortable. Sometimes at the lab with Pablo, they may see something and then he can call and talk to me and say, hey, your patient's coming back. Did you notice they're wobbly when they're walking? It might be dizzy. And so sometimes you don't pick up on everything all yourself, or a patient may be comfortable talking to one person and not another. You really, it really is a team sport, not just in the tasks, but in the relationships, and sometimes just figuring out the story of a diagnosis or the treatment.
All right, I'm going to throw one more final question out there because I think this is probably at the end of the day what the students really want to know. And that is, what is the typical salary range? You don't have to be specific, but the typical range of people in your line of work. Dr. Draves, you want to start with that one?
Sure. You know, I'd say at the very beginning, family medicine, pediatrics, somewhere where a residency may be 3 years, you may start off something like 130, 140,000, 125,000. Neurosurgeons can make all the way up to $1 million. I'd say the emergency docs may be in the 200 range. Many of your medical specialists like cardiology or lung doctors may be in the 300 range, and many surgeons may be in the 300,000 to 500,000 range. There's a wide variation, but I'd say it'd be pretty comfortable to say anywhere from maybe 120 first getting out with your first job, all the way to million if you're a well-renowned neurosurgeon that flies around the country.
All right, thank you. Jen?
So when I first started 22 years ago as a new grad nurse, I made $20 an hour, which I thought was the most money I could, I couldn't even fathom making $24 an hour. But today, in preparation for that question, I looked at our grid that we have of how on our union grid, how much money nurses at Cleveland Valley make. And if you're a new grad, we're starting you off anywhere between $55 to $60 an hour. So straight out of college, 2-year degree, $55 to $60 an hour. And then that goes up based on experience, based on years of experience. And then if you get into, like, say, administration, our chief nursing officer, so the head nurse of the hospital, makes in the $500,000 a year range. So there's really quite a wide range depending on what you do with your skills.
Okay. Fatima?
For the dental field front office staff, normally, I hire with no experience. So if you're willing to learn, I will hire you as a receptionist in the front office. But front office normally tends to start like around 35,000 up to 60,000. If you're up in the management already. Back office, dental assistants, RDAs, registered dental assistants, and that kind of line, they normally start like at 40, and same thing, they can go up to $60,000, $70,000 for being a registered dental assistant.
Okay, and finally, Pablo.
All right, I think that for us, it varies from county to county. I know Napa County, especially Napa here, we start out with 53 to 60 or 58 dollars per hour. And I know Sonoma starts out with like 65 to $70 per hour. And for CLS, typically it's about 88K per year. And, it could go up higher depending if you have more, hours put in. And for supervisors, about 100K. And that's just in this county. I know South Bay, I heard that starting salary there could be 120, 140. So it really depends where you are in the Bay Area.
Okay. All right. Well, we are just at 5:30. I just thank you again, all of you, for taking time out of your schedules to come and share your story. I know that I wish we had more time, because I know that there's probably more questions coming. Sita, I'll turn it back over to you to wrap things up.
Oh, yes. Well, all I have to add is thank you for taking this time after a long work day to come and talk to our students and job seekers. But just know your time was, we know it's super valuable, and we will definitely share this video with some of our educators so they can use it in their classrooms. And so we thank you for that. And please have a wonderful rest of your evening. I'll stay online if students have any questions, but otherwise, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.